Alright, welcome back YouTube. It's Willie here with Spaceman Aquatics, coming to you live from the kitchen, of course. Giving you the second segment in our Fish Keeping 101 series. That segment is going to be the nitrogen cycle. Before we get into this video, please comment, like, share, and subscribe so we can grow this channel and we can be a benefit to others in the YouTube fish community. Let's go ahead and kick that intro really quick. Today's video is going to be the nitrogen cycle. The nitrogen cycle is pretty much cycling your tank and preparing it preparing your tank to house anything living inside of it. Now the nitrogen cycle will continue and go forward over and over as your tank is set. But you need to begin that nitrogen cycle before you really add any fish into the tank. Now there's two ways that you can do that. The first way is, of course, you can pretty much feed the tank itself. What that mean by that is you'll pretty much add food into the tank every couple of days or so, and you'll also do a water change on top of that, maybe 50%, at least 2 or 3 times a week. The second way you can cycle your tank is go ahead and just shoot in the dark and just add some fish into the tank. Now that can be a little bit dangerous because you're risking the lives of the fish, because again there's no the tank is not cycled and it doesn't have any beneficial bacteria in it that will help break down the waste that is going to be in that tank, and that can kill the fish. But what a lot of people in the hobby do is we'll get a feeder fish or a guppy fish or something small and cheap and add it to the tank and allow that to kind of kickstart the tank without really having any large repercussions or losing any fish that that may be expensive, or losing any organisms that may be expensive, and any expensive invertebrates such as shrimp or snails as well. So let's go ahead and break down that nitrogen cycle. It's going to be really quick. The first thing you have to worry about there is the waste that is going to be in this tank. Now, the waste that is going to be in this tank is going to be coming from fish food, decaying or dying fish that may be in the tank, fish waste, and decaying or dying plant matter. So what happens there is that decay causes ammonia to build up into the tank. Now, what's going to happen here is, provided that you've cycled the tank correctly, you've added your water chemicals, and sometimes you can even find a biological bacteria supplement and you can add that to your tank. What'll happen here is a colony of bacteria such that is called a nitromonas bacteria will convert that ammonia down into another element that is called a nitrite. Now ammonia, as you may know, is very toxic and it could kill your fish. This nitrite in high doses can also be toxic and will also kill your fish. Now, no need to worry, because there's other bacteria that are going to be in the tank as well. A bacteria that will break down the nitrates further down is called a nitrobacter bacteria. That nitrobacter bacteria will turn the nitrites into a nitrate. The nitrates, if you are a part of the plant community, if you have plants, if you're somewhat familiar with fertilization and things like that, you would know that nitrates actually can help in fertilizing and growing your plants. So if you have a planted tank, this could be very beneficial and help aid in the nitrogen cycle as well, and help essentially break down into oxygen, and that will dissolve into your tank. Now, if you don't have plants in your tank, you don't have to worry about it, because there's another bacteria, as anaerobic bacteria, that will further break down the nitrates in the tank down into oxygen, and that will dissolve into the water column. Now, please be careful, because nitrates at very high levels, very high levels, can also be toxic to your fish, but that's more of a compound that's not as deadly as the nitrates and the ammonia. You really don't have to worry about that as much. Again, all of these bacteria are going to be building up as colonies in your fish tank. That's going to be in your filtration system. It's going to be in the substrate. So it's very important to keep the water clean. It's very important to keep do some maintenance on the filtration system, and keep the substrate clean as well. And that will help aid in the breaking down of the waste in the water column. So you do want to do your water changes. That'll definitely help get rid of some of that waste, but you want to help aid the nitrogen cycle process as well as best as you can, so that it can naturally break down in the tank and you don't have large spikes in these and these chemicals that'll cause issues in your tank and cause all types of stress on you as a pet owner with dying fish or sick fish because you weren't able to take care of that water quality. So with that being said, let's go ahead and just recap really quick so that you definitely understand what's going on in your water and what the importance of cycling your tank. So I mentioned you have your waste, that's the ammonia that's broken down into nitrites via the nitromonas bacteria. The nitrites would then be further broken down into nitrates by a nitrobacter bacteria. That nitrate can either be utilized by your plants in your tank or further broken down into oxygen and dissolved into the water by an anaerobic bacteria. And all these bacteria is again found in your substrate and found in your filtration system. And this will definitely aid you, and in fact it's the most important process in keeping a fish tank. This is probably one of the key elements or the key things you need to understand as a beginner fish keeper or as a beginner tank hobbyist if you want to be successful, so that you don't have all these headaches with crashing systems and dying fish all the time. So with that being said, that closes out the second segment in the fish keeping or the fish keeping 101 series. The next is going to be, we're going to get a little bit more into water changes. Now I mentioned it in this tank or in this video. I mentioned water changes in this video, so you probably have an understanding as to why you have to do your water changes, but I also want to talk to you about testing the water quality as well, and that goes hand in hand with doing water changes, because you need to understand the levels of these ammonia, the levels of the nitrates and nitrates, and we'll get into that in the next video. With that being said, before we close out here again, please comment, please like, please share the video, please subscribe to the channel so we can be a part of the YouTube fish keeping community. We can make a difference, and we can be a beneficial aid to any other beginners in the hobby. And we can really we can have a lot to talk about here. We have lots of things that we're going on. I have other segments that we're going to talk about as well. So let's go ahead and build this community. I've done enough talking here. I'm Spaceman Kim. You can call me Willie with Spaceman Aquatics. I'm out.